to talk about the seat height and the gas mileage. One of the things I was concerned about when I bought the motorcycle was whether or not I could get my feet firmly on the ground because of the seat height. I'm 5'7". When I inseam with shoes on, it was about 28.5 inches. And I know the seat height is listed as about 32 inches, so it sounds like I'm in big trouble when it comes to getting my feet on the ground. I was so concerned about it, I was shopping for boots with thick heels, but it turns out that I didn't need to be that concerned about it. At 5'7", with a 28.5-inch inseam, I can get my feet comfortably on the ground that I don't need any special heels. I cannot put both feet flat on the ground, and I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. Okay, what's the seat height in the real world? Well, I'm going to measure it. I already did this once, and I was told that the actual seat height is around 31.25 inches. And you'll be able to see that for yourself. It's level right now. And you can read the seat height off of the ruler. Should be 31.25 or thereabouts. And here's the width of the seat, which is about 12.5 inches. Now I'll show myself on it and you'll see how I can get my feet on the ground, or how closely I can get them to being flat on the ground. Okay, now I'm going to get on and show you how I size up with a 28.5-inch inseam on a 2002 Kawasaki Concourse. Right foot all the way flat. Looks like I can't touch the ground with my other foot. Left foot all the way flat. And I can just touch my toe to the ground with my left foot flat. Both feet on the ground. Both feet are about equally on the ground right now. And you should be able to see how high my heel is up off of the ground. That's the best I can do with a 28.5-inch inseam. Okay, now for a better view, I hope. Right now, I have both feet equally planted. So that's with both feet equally planted, my heel is that far off the ground. With my other foot flat on the ground, I can just touch my toe tip to the pavement. That's the best I can do with my 28.5-inch inseam. But I find that that's enough. Because even when I'm like this, I have enough traction from the balls of my feet in these good motorcycle shoes that it works fine for me. I'm not disconcerted by the lack of traction. It works fine for me. But I imagine you wouldn't want to have a much shorter inseam for this motorcycle. Okay, for the final topic today, I wanted to talk about the gas tank and gas mileage. The first generation Concourse has a 7.5-gallon tank. That's pretty big. I don't think there's a bigger tank on another production motorcycle. Might be wrong. But it also has a fuel gauge. Right there, to the left of the speedometer. But the important thing to note is that that gauge reads empty, not when the tank is empty, but when it hits reserve. And by my estimation, the reserve is around 3.5 gallons. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it seems like that's about what it is. Which means that your tank, when my fuel gauge reads empty, I still have over 3 gallons of gas in my tank. And I took a long trip on this motorcycle, 600 miles round trip, and I was very careful to measure the gas mileage. When I filled it up before leaving, I put it on the center stand and filled the tank to within a quarter inch of the rim, and I did that each time I filled up. So I'm quite certain I got a very good measure of the gas mileage, and it turned out to be right on 50 miles per gallon, which is much better than I expected. And I'm certain that it's a good measurement also because the total trip distance as measured by Google Maps is right on target with the actual mileage on my odometer. So I think I'm good. Now, I was aiming for maximum gas mileage when I took the trip, which means that I was not gunning the motor. I was very gentle on the throttle for the whole trip. But I got 50 miles per gallon. That makes me very happy. And on the trip home, I ran on the reserve for well over 100 miles. So I think it's good. Those are good numbers. However, it is a little weird to have your gauge reading empty and you still have 150 miles of travel left on the motorcycle. And one other note, too, is that there are dual trip odometers. The one on the speedometer measures in miles and tenths of a mile, and the one on the tach reads in miles only. Well, I got it backwards when I originally recorded the video. I always have difficulty remembering which way to turn the petcock. It seems like you should turn the petcock forward to put it on reserve, as if the handle was indicating that you can continue going forward. But that's not the way it works. You flip the handle so that it points toward the front tire to set it to the prime position, and you leave it there for a few seconds. Then you flip it 180 degrees to the reserve position to set it to the reserve tank. You can then continue on. I need to note that according to the Kawasaki manual, in the reserve tank there is only 1.72 US gallons, which equals 6.5 liters. I can tell you from experience, though, that when that gas gauge needle reads dead empty, you have over 100 miles of travel left. At least on my bike, that's the way it works. I think the manual is indicating how much gas is left in the reserve tank when the motorcycle begins to buck because it's running on vapors. I don't feel comfortable waiting that long to switch to the reserve tank, especially when I'm looking at a gas gauge needle that says I'm on empty. And in my experience, when I switch to the reserve tank, I still have over 100 miles left to go.